All right, this video I'm going to address the particles are not firing on every fireball. There were a couple of instances and then it created a whole bunch of other problems that I ended up having to fix. But I got it working now. So in the code, basically what I ended up having to do, how I was creating the particles, it wasn't space, as I actually bumped it way down. When I create an entity with the particle effects here, I only need to, oops, not high enough. I only have a max of 10, and it default of 2 for smoke particles and for fire particles unless I state otherwise in my particle effect manager. The issue that I had was I needed to actually call another function. So here, the particle effect start, that needs to get called when you're wanting to start the particle effect from the emitter. So I have it a Boolean check there where I can set it to start, and it's going to set it to start. And then in my particle effects system, I rewrote a bunch of it, but it's going to check if it started, and then if it did, then it's going to end up doing it right here. So if it's true, then it's going to start drawing. So it's only drawing after that start function. If not, then it's setting it to true, and then I'll hit it the next time. The other piece that I end up having to work on is the particle effects. For whatever reason, they would randomly get attached to other entities, my touch positions, the arrow, and occasionally when I would respawn other enemies, the particle effect for fire would get attached to them. So I ended up rewriting this so it's only dealing with particle effects, but instead of creating an entity with only particle effects, I'm attaching it directly to the entity itself. So if I create a fireball entity, then that particle effect is a part of the entity, not sitting by itself so that it wouldn't get randomly attached. I went through everything trying to find why it was doing that. Couldn't figure it out. I know that if I shut off the attached part of the particles, it wouldn't attach to anything else, but then I wouldn't have the attached particles. So it's working now. I'll show it. I did make a couple of changes. For one, I have the particles underneath the normal update layer, so they're shooting from underneath the dragon's mouth. And I also took off the renderable piece because here, so it's not drawing the texture, so I technically don't need the texture either. What that does, though, is it's just having the particle effects with an empty body that I could still collide with, but it looks more like a fireball. So I have them currently destroying after a distance of 5 from the origin. So from the dragon. So there's the empty body and the fire. And when it gets far enough away, the fire disappears, and then it's set to destroy for the entity, the particle effect. His smoke is still working on his nose. That is a separate entity only holding particle effects, but because I don't need anything other than it just to stay in one place, it's fine. And they still hurt me if they hit me, so looking at the health. So normally I'll have it increased to 10, which would be off the screen.